Chuck Schumer was one of only 7 Democrats to vote to send bulldozers to Israel. 40 Senate Democrats voted no. These bulldozers are used to illegally destroy Palestinian villages. Mr. Schumer, you are out of touch with the base of this party and with your own caucus. Step aside.
It feels great to hear a Democratic lawmaker call out the mealy-mouthed, weak, and devoted to Israel politicians on the Democratic side of the aisle. And that's exactly what Congressman Ro Khanna did as it pertains to Senator Chuck Schumer, one of the Democratic senators who voted to block Bernie Sanders' effort to prevent 2 bills that would provide additional offensive weaponry to Israel. Now, before I get to all of the details, Cenk, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about this.
Yeah, so I do. So we're gonna talk about how to vote out these traitors, and they are 100% traitors to Democratic voters. We're gonna talk about who the heroes are, like Bernie Sanders, who introduced legislation in the first place. By the way, there's 12,000 bombs that are also part of that. Anna's gonna tell you more about that in a sec. And I want to give a shout out to the one and only Democrat calling for Chuck Schumer to step aside. And as usual, it's Ro Khanna. Hey, where are the other Democrats? That guy just screwed us. Schumer did, big time. Do any of you care? Or was those 40 votes also fraudulent? Anyway, Anna, give them the facts, and then I'm gonna go all in on these guys.
Oh, I know you are. Okay, so let me give you the details because this has to do with a vote that was held in the Senate yesterday, and it was meant to block 2 proposed weapons sales to Israel. Now, I do it in scare quotes because we don't sell anything to Israel. We gift Israel these incredibly expensive weapons. But either way, even if they were going to buy them from us, I think it would have been a good idea to block that anyway, since they're committing genocide, ethnic cleansing, not just in Gaza, but now they've spread their lovely ideology and actions into other countries in the Middle East and dragged us into a war with Iran. So with all of that in mind, the first, I guess cache of weapons would be for 12,000 bombs, each weighing 1,000 pounds, okay? The second was for the sale of bulldozers. You might be wondering, oh, maybe they need bulldozers to help the people of Gaza, get through the rubble and try to, find their deceased family members who have been trapped under the rubble, in some cases for as long as 2.5 years. No, that's not why they want the bulldozers. Israel would like the bulldozers to do what they've been doing in places like Lebanon, where they've effectively been bulldozing entire communities. Okay, so Senator Bernie Sanders led the mission to block those 2 bills. And here's what he said on the House floor yesterday.
Bottom line, the American people, whether they are Democrats, Republicans, or independents, conservatives, moderates, or progressives, want to make certain that their tax dollars are spent responsibly. And in strong and growing numbers, they do not want us to continue spending billions of their taxpayer dollars in support of the illegal, horrific, and expansionist war policies of the Netanyahu government in Israel. A recent Quinnipiac poll also found that 60%, including 3/4 of Democrats, 2/3 of independents, and 37% of Republicans, I say that to my Republican colleagues, 37% of Republicans do not want the US sending more military aid to Israel.
So there you have Senator Sanders making a strong case for blocking these weapons bills. However, he does more than just give speeches. Sanders offered similar resolutions last summer, which Republicans also blocked. And in 2024, the same outcome in those cases, about half of Senate Democrats backed his effort, which obviously isn't enough Senate Democrats when you only have 50% backing what Sanders is trying to do here. Now, that was in the past. This time around, things were a little different, but unfortunately, We got close, but no cigar. So several Democrats who had opposed such efforts in the past actually changed course. So 36 Democrats voted to take up a measure that would block the sale of the 1,000-pound bombs, while 40 Democrats voted in favor of a measure to bar the sale of the bulldozers that Israel has used to level entire neighborhoods in Gaza and Lebanon. So I guess more of the Senate Democrats were in favor of the bulldozers that are razing neighborhoods in Gaza and Lebanon. Okay, great. Roughly a dozen more Democrats voted for those measures than have voted for similar ones in the past. Now, I want to be clear about something real quick, Cenk, and I want to get your thoughts on this as well. It is also very likely that Democrats who maybe wanted to vote no on Bernie Sanders' effort here to block additional military aid to Israel just knew that his effort was going to fail. Probably knew that with the midterms coming up and the fact that most Democratic voters have soured on Israel, you can vote alongside Bernie Sanders, give the illusion that you support him without any real fear that this type of bill is going to pass, thus blocking additional military aid to Israel. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. So I'm going to be nuanced here. So let's start to talk about heroes and villains. So usual villain is mainstream media. Stop saying we sold anything to Israel. You're doing that, you're lying on purpose to make it seem like Israel is buying this stuff. No, we gift it to them every time. So why are you purposely lying in all of your articles and all of your news stories about how they bought the weapons? They didn't buy anything, okay? They continue to rob us blind. By the way, the bulldozers are armed. And if you're writing garbage about how, the Israelis might be using bulldozers to help the Palestinians, well, I mean, can you imagine a more gargantuan lie? Like the Israelis would ever want to help the Palestinians, let alone the fact that they don't allow that in the part of Gaza that the Palestinians are in? And that you're using these bulldozers, we see it. We've shown you videos destroying schools and hospitals all over southern Lebanon now, like they did in Gaza. So no, they'll be used by a sick fascist state to murder more of their neighbors, and there's absolutely no doubt about that. Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, now heroes. Bernie Sanders. Thank God, man. At least he exists, and I think that that's so great for two reasons. One, he's just the moral voice of the Senate, always has been, and always gets to the right conclusion. Number two, thank God there are Jewish Americans like Bernie Sanders, so that more people don't make the mistake of thinking that this is about Jewish people and realize it's about the government of Israel, which is a different country. Thank you, Bernie, you're awesome. Now look, Bernie's too nice overall. I like what Ro Khanna is doing better because Bernie will say, hey, let's vote on this thing, and it's a great thing that he proposed. But when it comes to Schumer and Biden and those guys, but golly gee, they're my colleagues. They're not your colleagues. Chuck Schumer doesn't agree with us. God, a single thing that you think, Bernie, Chuck Schumer would betray all of your values in 1 second flat if you paid him $1, okay? Let alone the $6.5 million he's already been bribed by Israel, let alone the fact that he works for Israel. Come on, let's be honest about these things. Chris Van Hollen's another really good senator. There are others. There are good, solid Democrats on this issue in the Senate, which is a rare thing to say, so I'll take that. Now to Anna's question about the middle ground guys. So the ones that voted along with Bernie on this and had the right vote, so I'm torn on that, right? Because you know me, I take yes for an answer, and I'm happy to give them credit for voting in the right direction. On the other hand, Anna's indisputably correct that if it was a close vote and they needed one of those guys to vote with Israel, 12 of them would vote with Israel. Of course they would. You think Cory Booker's gonna vote against Israel if they need his vote? You think Elisa Slotkin is gonna vote against Israel, or Mark Kelly or Adam Schiff? No, they're all gonna vote for Israel if Israel needed the vote. Now they didn't need the vote, they won comfortably. But it does show you guys that even the Adam Schiffs and Cory Bookers of the world, realize how supernova toxic it is to support Israel's war machine. It's finally gotten through their thick heads. So now you'll see a lot of Democrats pretending that they don't want to fund Israel's war machine. Okay, so get ready for that. But again, you come to the right place, and if your vote matters, especially, then I give you all the credit in the world. Okay, so far it doesn't matter, but they could. Now, one other villain before we go on, Anna, and that's all of the Republicans. They all voted, yes, Israel, we serve Israel loyally, please murder more. You John and Sally in Kansas, shut up and give your paycheck to Israel. They need to bomb more Muslims and steal their land. The Republican Party
and Christians.
And Christians. There's several million Christians in Lebanon, but the Republicans all of a sudden don't care about Christians at all when they get that sweet AIPAC money. Every Republican in the Senate is a whore and works for AIPAC, and every donor that comes by, they're giant liars, and they'll sell you out in a flat second. Back to you, Anna.
100%. Okay, I want to name names. Very important to name names. So we know on the Republican side who voted against Bernie's effort, every single one of them. But let's look at the Democrats. So Democrats who voted against blocking the sale of bulldozers. You have Senators Richard Blumenthal, Chris Coons, Catherine Cortez Mastro, Jackie Rosen, Kirsten Gillibrand, Chuck Schumer, John Fetterman. Get them out, get them out. Don't forget their names, and I don't want to hear a damn Democratic voter come to me, whether it's 4 years from now, 6 years from now, whenever, to tell me, no, that's not true. These Democrats never voted in favor of sending weapons to Israel. Please, let's go to the next one. If you're curious why they voted against it, money spent by pro-Israel lobby groups and donors. So you got Richard Blumenthal, he's taken over or nearly $1.7 million from the Israel lobby. Chris Coons, over $1.7 million. Christine Cortez Mastro, wow, she really did rake it in. 3.2 million, I'm rounding obviously. Jackie Rosen, 7.6 million. Man, that's a lot of money. Chuck Schumer, 6.4 million. And then you have John Fetterman, who's already taken nearly $2 million from the Israel lobby in the short period of time he's been a politician. It's just wild, absolutely wild. And then you have Kirsten Gillibrand, of course, nearly $3.3 million. So money talks. And while this is extremely disappointing and more proof that these lawmakers need to be voted out, Bernie Sanders saw this as a glass half full type situation. So I want to read his reaction to all of this. He says, "We are making progress. Today, more than 80% of the Democratic caucus stood with the American people and voted to block US military aid to Netanyahu and his horrific illegal wars. When we started this effort, there were just 11 votes. Now there are 40. That shift reflects where the American people are. Americans, whether they are Democrats, Republicans, or independents, want to see our tax money invested in improving lives here at home, not used to kill innocent women and children in the Middle East and put American troops in harm's way as part of Netanyahu's illegal wars of expansion." So there you have Senator Sanders saying out loud what we've been saying out loud here at TYT for years now, right? Because this isn't new. The border expansion, the Greater Israel Project is not some new project. This is something that Israelis in the media, Israeli politicians have been talking about overtly, openly, brazenly. And it's about time we actually believe that they're going to do what they say they're going to do, rather than have them gaslight us when they're addressing Americans in American media. At the same time, over in the House, the War Powers Resolution failed yet again. Total losers, these politicians. You're worthless. Okay, you serve no role. You should be disbanded. All right, but anyway, so the War Powers Act basically indicates, hey, guess what? If the president wants to start a war, he needs to get it approved by Congress. That whole system of checks and balances that we're supposed to value here in the United States. Well, Congress has consistently ceded their power to the executive branch. And in this case, the War Powers Resolution failed yet again, 213 to 214. Just one Republican, Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky, voted for it, while one Democrat, Representative Jared Golden of Maine, who should be voted out of office, voted against it. Representative Warren Davidson, a Republican from Ohio who previously voted to end the Iran war, voted present because he's a coward. 3 Republicans did not vote. Yeah. They're also cowards. Cenk.
So I want to be clear. So the 7 Democratic senators that Anna read, you guys, are I'm calling them traitors. Now, why am I saying that? It's traitors to
humanity.
Yes, sure, to humanity, America, et cetera. But really, specifically, I mean the Democratic voters. So 80% of Democratic voters have a negative view of Israel and do not want to send them any more arms. It's not a subtle number. It's not 52%, it's not 57, it's not even 64. It is an overwhelming 8 out of 10. And Richard Blumenthal, Chris Coons, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, Kristen Schillerbrand, Chuck Schumer, and John Fetterman just gave all of you guys the middle finger and said, ha ha, you think I'm gonna represent you? No, I tricked you. And then I betrayed you and I stabbed you in the back and I twisted the knife because my donors told me to. I don't give a damn about 80% of you. I spit in your face. That's what they did with this vote. They said, no, Israel is much more important to us than our own voters. We don't care if it's 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, or 10 out of 10. We don't care if every single Democrat in the country wants us to stop funding Israel. We loyally serve Israel and not you. That's exactly what they said with that vote. You would be out of your mind to vote for any of those 7. You're basically saying, oh, okay, I'm an idiot, I'm a sucker, take my vote and don't care about my priorities at all, just serve. And guys, Israel's tip of the iceberg, okay? Those 7 and so many others, they serve all their donors. You think it's just Israel? They betray you with every single vote. It's all theater. They don't care about you at all. They will, and we've been telling you this for 20 years on the Young Turks. All Israel is doing is waking up the whole country to, oh, money in politics. Oh, if you give someone $3.5 million, it turns out they'll vote for you every single time. Of course they will. You would have to be so maniacally stupid that you, as like the equivalent of a national media reporter, to not understand that super simple concept. But every reporter in the country is like, oh, what do you mean? Do you think 6.5 million affects someone's vote? But there's such an honest, beautiful, honorable politician. Get the hell out of here, man. The media is disgustingly corrupt. These politicians are disgustingly corrupt. And their job is to work in unison to make sure that they serve the richest, most powerful people in the country, and never you, and never you. So at 8 o'clock, we do a show called The Revolution. You know, Young Turks is 6 to 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday. And at 8 o'clock, I do The Revolution. So tonight, I'm gonna ask for your help. We're gonna find primary candidates for these folks. And we're gonna make sure that we spend our time and effort to make sure that they never, ever win another election, ever. Which is like, the only reason why anybody votes for them is because the monstrous liars in mainstream media. Oh, they're Democrats. Oh, they care about their voters. Oh, they're honest. Yeah, they're purposely doing propaganda because the media also knows Israel, bow down to Israel. I'm so sick of it. Okay, so we'll do more at 8 o'clock, but for now, I want you to know this, and then I'm gonna tell you one other thing that's totally relevant to this story. NotAnotherDollar.com. That's a pledge to say I'm never gonna vote for anyone who ever gives money to another dollar to Israel. Of course not. You'd have to have your head examined to do that. And by the way, support Wolfpack. Get money out of politics. And their website is fightcorruption.us. And I love their new slogan, fight corruption, not each other. Right wing, left wing, doesn't matter. Fightcorruption.us, because as long as these sick prostitutes work for their donors, which is currently exactly what the situation is, they'll never work for you. We already got robbed of our democracy. Who are we kidding? So that brings me to the last point. You saw what Anna said on the War Powers Resolution. Oh, look at that. Israel happened to win by 1 vote. Nah, they always win by just enough votes. Do you know how many votes Israel has lost in Congress in my lifetime? 0. 0. They win every single vote, but I don't know if they're the dumbest people in the country or the most dishonest people in the country. But every national media reporter can't figure out, oh, AIPAC and the Israeli lobby gave to 94% of Congress and they win every single vote. Gee, I wonder if that's connected. Duh. But apparently the incredibly stupid people who work at the New York Times, CNN, Washington Post can't piece that together.
They're not stupid. Like you need to get that out of your head because it's driving me nuts. They're not stupid. It's on purpose, Cenk. I haven't been on CNN. Why haven't I been? How come I didn't get an invite back on CNN?
Yeah,
it's on purpose.
Of course,
you know
it
is. On CNN, you know they had Emily Austin, paid Israeli propagandist, on Abby Phillips' show the other day. It's on purpose. It's not an accident.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.